doing great. You guys ready for another round of coffee with the coaches? Woo! Yes.
I'm excited. I know I am.
Yes.
Let's get into it. Before we get started, I think you have a handful of words to share with the Fifth Fam, right?
Yeah. So we're super excited to be joining you guys today. First, up on our topic for today, we're going to be talking about, Tracking not only your calories, your food, all kinds of other things in your life, your schedule, which I'm a big fan of, numbers, all that good stuff. And one thing that we're going to be tracking this week through Saturday is our Facebook and Google reviews. So we're having our Share the Love campaign in honor of Valentine's Day. We're still in that same spirit of love and appreciation for one another. And we're doing a kind of like an ethical bribe, if you will, for you guys. So that way you guys can share the love with us and share the love with the community of what we do here at Vintage Fair Fit Body. And we're asking for you guys to review us on Facebook and on Google. And for every review, Fit Body's going to donate $1 to Shriners Children's Hospital. And then everyone who reviews as well too is going to get entered in to win up to $2,500 in TrueLean supplements from headquarters. And then we'll do another raffle here in our facility. We're going to be giving away $50 worth of supplements and a drawstring bag and a shaker cup. So it's a win-win-win. Spread the love, share the love, give us a review, and then you'll be able to give to a good cause and then win some awesome supplements as well too. So that ends on Saturday, so make sure you guys complete your reviews, and once you do that, make sure to write your name down on the confirmation sheet at the front desk. So
sounds like a pretty good deal.
It is. Awesome.
Supplements, possibly.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Share the love.
So, getting into it, it's great that kind of like rolls into our conversation today, because we have to track also what we're doing so we can share the love and make sure that everybody's having a great time with that campaign. And we also have to track so many things in our life to make sure that we're moving in the direction that we want to. Because it's kind of, if we don't have that goal or that thing to aim at, then you kind of wander around aimlessly. You're not 100% sure what you're doing or why you're doing it. You just know it's kind of like the motion you're going in. And it's hard to have like that perfect, or not perfect, but that line of sight to go for and that goal that you want to reach. And as soon as you have that thing that you're looking for or that goal in sight, you have to have some kind of system in place to track what you're doing, to track how you're doing, how you're feeling, how well things are going, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And it becomes a lot more clear, as we're going to talk about it, it's going to become a lot more clear that tracking isn't just, your healthy habits of your nutrition and water and sleep and your workouts. It's way more than that. And if you could start to develop stuff that keeps you going forward, and that way you can look back and be like, hey, I made these improvements, you're going to find that you're going to get even more success, and you're going to feel happier about how you're doing, how well you're doing, and you also course correct way better than just kind of like going through it and be like, well, I know that I'm doing it, and I think that I'm doing it right, but let's just kind of see where the cards lie. And I know Coach Daniel here you've been doing the perfect week for about a week now?
A week now, yeah.
So talk about that a little bit, because I know that's something that I want to do. I haven't done that yet. I've done the perfect day, but not the perfect week, which I need to.
Yeah, I think the Perfect Week Formula is a book that was written by Craig Ballantyne, he's also a fellow Fit Body Bootcamp owner from the East Coast, but he's an author, entrepreneur, business coach, and I have a lot of respect, and I follow him through social media and a lot of his content. Anyway, so he created this formula for entrepreneurs and people that are trying to maximize productivity throughout their week, to get more things done, to stay on track, and also to free up their time to spend with like their family or doing things that they love that doesn't relate to work and business. And so I've been trying to study the book, or I have been studying the book, and trying to figure out my schedule for the week. And making sure that I'm doing it the right way. I actually tried doing this like maybe a year ago, but I didn't read the book and I didn't really understand the concepts and of certain ways to schedule your week. But this time around, I'm actually reading through the book. I'm doing the exercises in the book. I'm writing out what's what's important, what's urgent, what's not urgent, what's not important, and blocking those, putting those tasks in certain blocks throughout my week, so that way I make sure I stay on track and don't get too distracted and get things done that I need to move my life and my business forward. So really exciting stuff. I just started, like I said, on Monday, so we'll see how it goes. And I am dedicated to making sure I do it every week going forward.
Would you say even with like such a short amount of time that you've done it, that you've like already noticed like either like big gaps in your schedule or things that you've just overlooked, or even like seen just the time spots that you've had available to do other things that like are gonna benefit you more?
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the more eye-opening things is like I get distracted very easily because I have so many things going on. So I'm like trying to manage our social media pages. I'm trying to help out the team and the clients, and so like there's a lot of stuff coming at me all the time, and I need to be able to set boundaries and really focus on certain tasks at one point in time, so that way I can get them to the finish line and then open up to help everyone else that needs my attention. And there's certain times of the day on when I should be doing that, and so just sitting down, writing out what my week's gonna look like and plugging those areas in has been really helpful.
That's it.
Yeah.
that's something I definitely need to get on, and that I can already, from like just looking at what you've been posting like over the handful of days and stuff like that, I look at it and I'm like, oh, that probably makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it's just like being able to look back into your week and notice all those tiny things. It's like, oh, it's just like I overlooked it or I didn't think about it. Like that's just like, that's a huge up.
Yeah, and one thing that I mentioned this morning, I was talking to Susie about it at home, and like I'm just like so like driven and obsessed with what we do here, and like I'm constantly working, and sometimes I don't know how to shut it off. Usually I'll like wake up first thing in the morning and I jump on my laptop and I just start working away. But I do realize that I need to like be able to detach from work at least a couple times throughout the day and work on Daniel and work on myself and the things that make me happy and that move my life forward aside from the business. Reading through the book and helped me realize that I should be doing those things that are important to my life but not necessarily urgent, and I should be working on those things like first thing in the morning before work and before people start waking up and trying to grab Daniel's attention. And so like reading through that helped me just like make it like allow it for me to say yes, it's okay to like detach from work a little bit and work on these other things, because then and then getting to work when I need to. So and there's one quote in the book, I'm gonna butcher the quote, but it says something about like work will expand the time given for completion, something like that. So basically, if I have like 8 hours in a day to do work, if I don't set boundaries and say like I'm only going to be doing these few things for like 4 hours, rather than saying I just have all this work to do in a day, like all my tasks will like they'll take up the amount of time for that whole day rather than just like a shorter amount of time, because I'm not as consistent and I'm not putting up boundaries for distractions to deter me from what I'm doing. So I don't know if I explained that the right way, but it's been very helpful, and I look forward to how it's going to help me over the next few weeks.
So it's like, just so that I get it right, because I want to make sure that I get it like loud and clear. It's almost like you have X amount of things to do in a day, and if you don't set up like that block or that period to do it, like you're gonna try and work on like everything throughout the day and not get as much done, versus just like having like this one singular task for an hour and just like keep focused, do it, and then move on to the next thing once that time is up.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Makes sense.
That's yeah. I gotta read that book. I gotta buy that book.
Yeah.
But what about you, Coach Ariana? What have you? I know this is all new and everything like that, but what is something that you've been kind of like tracking, keeping tabs on, or maybe something that you've done relatively recently, or your whole life?
Well, obviously food has always been my biggest thing that I like tracking. We were just talking about it beforehand and saying how everybody has such specific goals. And time management is such a huge thing that I've been learning about, like ever since working here, and using my time wisely, and making sure that I block out specific things, and just checking things off feels really good. So I like checking off everything, you know, what I'm eating, when I'm gonna work out, and it's a more so like setting exact alarms on like when to start something, when to finish something, because there's certain times of the day that I know I'm gonna have the most energy to work out, so I'll make sure that I plug that, you know, into the right time of my day, or what I'm eating, weighing out my food. I even, you know, I'm starting to track how much weight I'm lifting to see my progress of like how much heavier I'm getting over time. And I know you guys are talking about it all the time in here. I see you guys like, oh, you know, I just started lifting a 60. A couple weeks ago I was lifting a 50. So that's really cool that you guys are able to track your weight as well. Even, you know, weighing myself. I pretty much weigh myself daily in the morning. I like to see, you know, if I'm staying on track and what I'm eating is affecting that. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have a healthy relationship with the scale?
With weighing myself? Yeah, I do. I just like to make sure that I'm not eating too much and gaining too much weight or getting under too much even. You know, I want to be aware of that and make sure that I'm maintaining, or right now I'm trying to put on more muscle, so seeing if like the numbers are going up a little bit more. And staying on top of that, because if I'm not on top of my calories, then I'm not going to hit my goals. And that's where you have to see where those gaps are, like you were saying,
right.
About if you don't see that, you can't level up. I'm always asking challengers, what are we doing this week to level up? Like, what did we do last week that we were perfect at? All right, maybe you tracked all your water. Now it's time to add something else that we're tracking. Let's track our sleep, or let's track more calories. And it doesn't have to be all at once. Like once you start tracking one thing, you're gonna be able to start seeing a lot of other things and see how much more you're able to fit into your day. Because time management is like the biggest thing. So yeah.
It's the most precious non-renewable
Oh yeah,
resource.
I definitely have learned that.
That's a conversation. I want to say I had it yesterday or last night or something like that. Or no. I saw it on a podcast. I don't know if you know who Jesse Itzler. Cool dude. There's a lot of crazy
interesting
stuff.
guy.
Yeah, he's like. I wish he was like my uncle or something like that. Also, he's like super rich. That'd be cool too. But he's like, he does a lot of cool stuff. But I was listening to a conversation he was having. I was essentially saying is like time management in a sense. Like when you value yourself enough to also value your time, you'll see like how precious it is with the things that you're doing. So it's like Daniel just said, like it's the one thing that you can't really get back. And so like the more that you value your time and like the things that you're doing with it, like the more the progress you're gonna make and the more likely you are to like achieve those goals, because you start to really value when you're doing the things that you're supposed to do or the things that you know that you want to get done, and you're like, you take it with pride and you take it in stride, versus, you know, you're just kind of like going about it, you're like, I don't really like see the value of that time. And so like time management, going with like the track and everything and like your weekly schedule and building everything up is like, that makes me extremely happy to see, because I'm like, yes, like you use the most of it to make the best of it, get as much out of it as you can. And like I know for myself, I've been working on a handful of things. My tracking has been, my main focus for tracking over the last month or so has been like two things. One has been like really tracking my workouts and trying to understand how, like what I have to do in order to like reach my specific goal. Like I have a very specific goal that I want to be. I want to be 200 pounds at a certain amount of body fat. That way I can gain a lot of lean mass. And I don't expect it to happen for maybe another year or so, just because that's how long the process would probably take. But my other goal that I have has less to do with just incrementally tracking my calories and stuff like that, and more to do with how I'm thinking and where I'm at mentally. And it's like tracking how I feel every day, tracking, you know, where I'm at in my space. When I wake up, the first thing that I do pretty much is like a mental check-in. I'm just like, okay, when I wake up, how do I feel? Am I feeling good? Am I feeling energized? Do I feel low? Do I feel like, you know, kind of clouded, a little like, you know, days? Like those are the things that I've been tracking I lost my train of thought. I've been tracking a lot. I've been keeping tabs of it. But that's to say that tracking isn't just the number on the scale or the number that we measure. It's your entire, like everything right here. And that's why I take it extremely seriously. Like in my notes right here, One of them is it imperative to track everything I do? Imperative being like, is it like life or death that I track everything I do? The short answer is no, not really. It's not gonna make or break you. It's not gonna result in anything. But if you have something that you want to achieve, like if you want to be, happier with your life, feel more fulfilled, reach a specific body weight goal, run a marathon, like everything has to be tracked in order to know. Because if you just wake up and try to run a marathon, it's gonna be a rough day.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a really rough day. But if you set it out and then you track your miles, you track how your workouts are going, you make sure that everything lines up so when you get to the marathon, it might still not be easy, but it's gonna be a heck of a lot more simple and you're gonna be prepared for it. I'd much rather take that route. And it's gonna take a lot more energy, effort, mental focus. It's gonna take a lot more of you than just waking up and be like, I'm gonna run 26.2 miles. That's not
Good luck.
Good luck, yeah. Like you're gonna be messed up. But it is imperative if you want to make the best amount of progress. And of course, we have our healthy habits here that I've mentioned a handful of times now, which Coach Ariana, you have the game board. For all of you on the challenge, you should be very familiar with this.
Boom.
Hopefully you can both see it on both phones right there. You got that workouts, water, sleep, and of course that food intake, tracking it and checking it off every single day.
Absolutely. And the reason, for those of you that are on the challenge, you've been doing this already, you've been tracking your foods. Us as your coaches have probably been hounding you a little bit to make sure that everything's getting done and everything's checked off. But the reason for that is less of, how much progress can we just make in the 6 weeks that we're going? And let's start with that foundation. Let's just build it up from here. Because if you get all of these things down and you get in the habit of tracking, in the habit of hitting those goals, in the habit of setting that marker, then it's okay, 6 weeks, that's great. That's perfectly fine. But what do we do with the other math backwards? 46 weeks of the year.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah. So
I was like, where are you going with that?
Yeah. But after the 6 weeks, what do you do with the other 46 weeks you have left for that year of when you started? So it's keep on going, keep that focus, and then the more that you track, the cooler it is to look back at things. If you just have a starting point, you don't take any progress pictures, you don't see anything, and in a year's time, you're gonna look back and be I made a cool amount of progress. But it's hard to celebrate your victories.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to celebrate those victories. But if it's you have your picture in your office, right?
Yeah.
How cool is it to look at that and look at yourself?
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. My before photo when I was 60 pounds heavier 13 years ago, and then to where I'm at today is completely different. And I'm so happy I have that photo to see, not only for the motivation, but just to show how far I've come. Mm-hmm. So yeah, progress photos are huge. I mean, Zoila was just posting her photos yesterday,
Awesome.
February from the last 3 years, and you could see just this total change on her face, and it's just amazing. And you guys are gonna want that, so gotta track this stuff so that way you can see it, celebrate it, and then even motivate yourself and others to do the same.
And it's it's one of those things where if you're just with it every single day, you're not gonna notice.
Yeah.
You're just gonna be oh, it's me, this is what I'm doing, and stuff like that. And so when you have those things where you can backlog into it, it's always the coolest. I love seeing that. I love seeing the crazy photos that everybody posts about their before and after, and the coaches too. It's one of those things that just it warms my heart to see, because it's we get to go back in the past and understand how well you have done. Mm-hmm. Now, Nayeli said, I love progress photos. They speak louder than the scale.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Your mom said, my dad always says you can't manage what you measure. Or
You don't measure.
Exactly, yeah. So that
That's
is
a good one.
perfect.
Yeah, we always say what do we say? It's usually what gets tracked gets improved.
Yes.
Right. You can't. It's very hard to improve something unless you're looking at it, not necessarily daily, but along the way to try to improve something. If you're trying to lose 10 pounds and you're not tracking your weight every week, you're not weighing your food when you should be. How much calories are going to be taken in? You're not going to really know unless you're weighing and measuring it, writing that stuff down, and then looking back, over the last month or so to see what you've done, and then checking that to like where you're at now, and then okay, why did I not lose those 10 pounds? If you didn't lose those 10 pounds and you didn't track anything, then you're not going to know.
Yeah.
So set goals and then track to help you get there.
What are some tips that you guys have for tracking? Because of course we're not telling you to go from like you haven't tracked anything to now track every single aspect of your life, have this giant spreadsheet that's like you on every single factor. Like we always have to start off small. But are there any tips that you guys have done that have helped you to just keep track of something or to just keep that consistency going?
Yeah, I would say even at the beginning of the year, like I made a vision board, and then like a week later, right after that, I made a video, and I was like, I set out way too many things for myself. So my biggest thing is like that step ladder approach, like take it one thing at a time. The more confident you get to, once you're like, wow, I was really consistent with drinking all my water this week, I got that down, let me go ahead and start tracking some food. You're gonna be able to see like you can do it and you can stay consistent. Because when you procrastinate and you put things off, it only makes it harder on yourself. And once you start taking those baby steps to tracking new things every time, I'd say my biggest thing is like pick one thing for the week and like absolutely crush it and like give it all you got, and then the next week keep adding on, and eventually just keep getting higher and higher, and know when to make adjustments and level up. What about you guys? You got any tips?
Tips on how to track things?
Yeah.
Writing stuff down really helps.
You're a big journaler, aren't you?
Yeah, I like to journal in the morning. I don't do it every morning, but at least a few times a week. I write down like what I'm grateful for, usually like what I'm feeling or something that I need to like focus on for the day. So just being aware of like how I'm feeling for the day, writing that down, and then having that in my journal every morning. And then I go back to it as well too. Like I'll go back and read the past few journal entries to see where my head was at, like earlier in the week, compared to where I'm at now. For example, last week I was feeling a little overwhelmed because we had so many things going on. And this week I'm feeling great. I'm feeling caught up and refreshed. And so I was trying to figure out like, okay, what helped me get from overwhelmed to feeling like good and great. And so that way, next time when I do feel overwhelmed, I know kind of what to do to help me get back to the good or great where I'm currently at. So it could be things like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be, your food or whatever, but like just writing things down. Checklists are great as well too. It always feels good marking things off when they're completed. But yeah, keeping a journal and keeping it with you and just referring back to that whenever you need to.
Do you have, I see this from like, I usually see this on like Instagram and stuff like that from like other people, but like do you have like a stack of just journals from over the year?
Not that many. I have like 2. So like I said, I don't do it every day, but yeah, I haven't gone back through all of it, but eventually, hopefully in a couple years, I'll have like
Just flip it
a
up
stack of them. Yeah, it'll be fun to go back and see like how my life was and where my head was at, 10 years in the past.
That's great. I have little like voice record like snippets that I'll make whenever I'm just like spur of the moment, and I'll just like speak whatever's like in my head and just kind of like archive it in my phone. And so I never touch them or like look at them. I just kind of like release, send out there. So I'm excited to see, whenever the time's right or whenever it's necessary to kind of like go through and be like, whoa, this like the tonality, the changes, like how I spoke, like the way I thought about stuff, or some of the things that I said that were just plain like dumb. And it's like, oh, okay, like let's see how that changed like over the years. But yeah, I mean, my only really big piece of advice is to start off like as small as you need to. Like don't add on too many things at once, because I know that I have a really big habit of being like, oh, I'm gonna do all these things, and then none of it gets done. Like just one thing, get really, really good at doing that one thing over and over and over again, and then once you're good with that, move on to the next. And just like keep repeating that process over and over again until it just feels seamless, until it feels like you're not even doing it anymore. But I think that's about all I got on that. Let me see if there's any questions or comments or concerns. I think we got to all of them.
Nice.
Anything else you guys got?
I I'm ready to go journal now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, I think we're good. One thing I would say too is like once you become like a master of tracking something, I would recommend sticking with it, keeping it as a habit. Don't just think, oh, I know how to track my food, for example. Like a lot of times people like they'll start like weighing their food and they think they know they've been doing it for so long they can just eyeball it, which is somewhat true. But after time of just eyeballing it for like a month or two, you're gonna forget what 6 ounces of chicken really looks like, and then you're gonna be adding like 10 ounces, 8 to 10 ounces instead of the 6 that you originally were supposed to be doing. And I fell victim to that because I've been doing this fitness stuff for like over a decade, and I was very meticulous about weighing my food. And then I started getting lazy and busy, and I was like, no, I don't need to do it, I can just eyeball it. And then I would start just like piling the food into my my meal prep containers, and then after a couple months of doing that, then hey, I'm like 5 pounds heavier. Like, what happened here? And oh, okay, I stopped tracking my food. Okay, I need to go back to weighing and measuring my food so that way I know exactly how much I'm eating. And that actually happened to me just recently. We did our last challenge back in September, and I was weighing and measuring my food, and then I just went back to eyeballing it. And then when we started this New Year challenge, I went back to weighing and measuring, and during that in-between time, I was eating way too much food. And so now I'm going back to being, to tracking, so that way I can make sure I keep my weight in line where I'm good at. So don't be overly confident. Always stick to the basics and back to the foundation to help you stay on track.
I don't think I've ever eyeballed properly. I'm like, yeah, there's about 6 ounces, and then on the scale it's like 12, and I'm like, wow, that was really
It never works out that way.
I was like, oh, this is why I get like really full after every meal. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I gotta be better at that too, I'm not gonna lie.
You definitely don't want to eyeball your food when you're like super hungry.
No.
You're just gonna like pile it on there and then like be overeating every day.
A whole chicken breast is like 6 ounces. Like, you just really squint at it. Like,
so that's our one helpful pro tip for the day.
yeah. Also, for those of you that are working out, which is all of you, my zones, track your workouts. I know even if you're on the challenge, even if you're doing all that good stuff, the my zones. We got, what did we get? Another shipment of 10?
Yeah.
So a handful left though.
Yeah. There should be 5 to 10 left that we have in the studio, but this thing's awesome. It tracks your workouts, tracks how much effort you put into it, so that way you know you're actually pushing yourself harder each and every workout. And it's so motivating to see your number on the screen behind me here during the workout live in real time. It just helps you like push yourself, keep you accountable, and drive you great results. So.
Absolutely.
I know this is like the other day I worked out and I had Tom and Mercedes. And I was right here, and I just looked up at because I was wearing my Mizone, and I was like, I have to listen. Like, I love all of you guys. I have to win. So the entire block. If you guys saw the post, it was red. Like from start to finish, I was just red. Oh, you were coaching.
I was coaching.
That was a fun time to say the least. But it's like that keeps me accountable too. Like when you're wearing that and you have that like visualization of like, okay, really how hard are we going? Like how much effort are we putting in? How well of a job are we doing? Like it helps you stay on track and keep accountable even in the moment of doing it. Because I kept looking up, and if my heart rate was starting to creep down, I just look at like Tom and be like, let's go. And then like we go right back into it. And it was a really fun session. I just sat down and I lied down on the floor. Or I sat down for like 20 minutes and I was like, you guys can clean? I can't do too much.
He was tapped out after that.
Monica said, I think to not measuring on an empty stomach, she also said, or go to a grocery store on an empty stomach.
Oh,
Same
yeah.
thing.
Bad idea. That's how I accidentally end up buying way more snacks than I anticipated.
It happens.
But I think that pretty much wraps us up for today.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, by all means, drop them in. But I think that's about going to close us out today. Track your stuff. get into it, get in the habit, and let's just kind of set the precedent, today, whatever it is, like set that one goal of you're gonna track this, you're gonna keep to it, and just stick like as religiously as possible to it, and just see where it takes you in a week, in 2 weeks, in the month, and then report back to us and tell us how it went.
Yes, let us know.
All right, well.
All righty, fam.
Let's go ahead. Let's put our Let's put our hands in. Let's get a family on 3. 1, 2.